All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about the Giants working out some quarterback prospects, including Shador Sanders, and what that could potentially mean. So, Shador Sanders, private workout, Jalen Milroe, as well from Alabama, Shador Sanders from Colorado, and Tyler Show from Louisville. Now, Shador Sanders is being projected as a first round pick. Could slide from the way things are going. From what we've been hearing as of right now, it seems like he could slide a little bit in the first round. I still think he will go in the first round. Jalen Milroe, likely a day two pick. Tyler Show, he could be a second round pick or possibly a day one guy. Be taken towards the end of the first round. We'll see. Giants have the number 3 pick and the number 34th pick in the draft. The second pick in the second round. So potentially, you could see the Giants maybe take best player available, and then they could trade back into the first round and take a quarterback that they like. Like maybe they take Jackson Dart. Maybe if Shador Sanders really does slide, late into the first round, you see the Giants trade back in and draft him, which I actually would love that if the Giants were able to do that. But we'll have to see. I think really, this I think doesn't really mean a whole lot. I think this, it does mean that the Giants at some point will take a quarterback. But, from watching a little bit of Joe Shane's press conference, he talked about the Giants quarterback room, and he said that, it's not mandatory for them to take a quarterback. They like the quarterback room where it's at right now. Because, at the beginning of the offseason, it was just Tommy DeVito. But now you added Russell Wilson, you added Jameis Winston. So, for me, I am an advocate for the Giants taking best player available at 3. Do not trade out of that pick. I mean, unless you're getting obviously if you're getting a significant offer, you consider it. But the Giants, I think, are in a position where you need a generational talent with this pick. And it has to be the right player. And the two guys that are at the top of everybody's draft board, other than quarterbacks, well, even with the quarterbacks are not the top players. It is Abdul Carter and it is Travis Hunter. And I think from what we've been hearing, it seems like the Browns are going to go and take Travis Hunter with the second pick. And that's who I want. And Joe Shane even said that if they were to get Travis Hunter, he would play both positions. He would play corner and he would play a receiver. They would mix in, some packages for him. I mean, he didn't say that, but, you figure they would mix in some packages for him. And the Giants have 3 receivers already at the top of the depth chart. Now, obviously, Travis Hunter, could slide in and, he could, surpass perhaps, Darius Slayton on the depth chart, even though they gave Darius Slayton a lot of money. So, if that happened, that shows you how Darius Slayton is playing. But, Slayton hopefully will play well, with this contract. He's going to be getting a lot of moon balls next year. So, hopefully he puts up some big numbers along with Malik Neighbors. But, yeah, you got Malik Neighbors, you got Darius Slayton, you got Wan'Dale Robinson. You add Travis Hunter to that receiver room, along with adding him to that corner room. Because the Giants secondary, it could be better next year. They addressed it, and, we'll see what they do with the draft. But, yeah, if they get Travis Hunter with their first pick, he adds more to those 2 rooms because of his ability to play both positions. And then Abdul Carter, listen, the Giants, the one thing that I have said that I like about this team a lot is their defensive line. And, at times last year, they were able to get after the quarterback, which is something that they have struggled to do for years. And adding a guy like Abdul Carter with what you already have in Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, unless they maybe trade Thibodeau, because I could definitely see them doing that if they were to draft Carter, but you add him to that, and you got yourself a really good defensive line. So, and this Giants team would really be built on defense and I think playing turnover-free football because you improve the secondary. I mean, the linebackers aren't, you know, superstars, but they're serviceable. And then you got this pass rush. And this Giants defense, the expectation would be them to be a top 10 defense next year. So, again, I want Travis Hunter, but if we got Abdul Carter, like, can't be upset about it. But that's where I'm at right now. It does seem like now it can all be a smokescreen, right? They could be saying all these things. Oh, we would use Travis Hunter with, he would play both positions. Abdul Carter and they end up taking a quarterback. They say taking a quarterback is not, mandatory. We don't have to do that with the third pick, and they take one anyways. I do think they're going to wait on taking a quarterback. I think you will see them take them, whether it's, they trade back with their second round pick, they get into the first round, or you see them maybe take one in the third round, whatever the case may be. The Giants will walk away from this draft taking a quarterback. They will, and whether that's the franchise guy or not, who knows? But really, for this current regime, it is all about winning football games next year. And I'm sorry, but a rookie quarterback is not going to do that. Now, had this regime had gotten more time, because really, from what John Mara has said, this is it. If they don't win this year, they're gone. So they're not going to take a rookie quarterback with their third pick. They are going to take best player available because they have the opportunity to do that. That will help. Whoever they pick will help them win games immediately next year. And then you address the quarterback position at some point later in the draft. And let them sit behind Russell Wilson and Jameis and take in as much knowledge as they can from these two guys. And you just hope that, you could kind of find your franchise guy maybe, potentially, and you're winning football games next year. Genwell in the chat says, how about the Saints trading for Hooker? You know what? I honestly, I don't think that's a bad idea. Because I think he has been a part of some trade rumors, and now, with the Saints and Derek Carr, and who knows what's going to happen with him. We talked about the injury news the other day. That could be a possibility. Now, I don't know what the compensation would be. I don't know what the Saints would have to give up. I mean, maybe we see what the Cowboys gave up for Joe Milton, so I'm guessing it would be something like that, maybe. Like a late round pick. Because Jared Goff's the guy in Detroit, and he's not slowing down anytime soon. So yeah, and then the Saints are in a weird spot, so maybe they do that. I guess we could see how the draft plays out, because if Shedeur Sanders ends up falling to 9, does that make the Saints say, "Hey, let's take him"? Because we don't know what we're going to be doing at quarterback if Carr's going to be out. And then there's also the chance that Aaron Rodgers could end up on the Saints, maybe. That opens up the door for that. So I do like that. We'll see if that could happen, because the Saints need a quarterback right now if Derek Carr ends up going down, unless, like I've said, if they like Spencer Rattler and they want to roll it out with him. But yeah, back to the Giants though with the quarterbacks. Like I said, they want to get a fair assessment on guys. They want to, get as much knowledge, on these prospects. Because again, if Shedeur Sanders falls to the late first round, if I'm the Giants, I'm trading back in to get him. If they're able to do that. Because then you're in a perfect spot. You drafted a generational talent and you got the quarterback in the first round. I think everybody would be happy with that. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think if Shedeur Sanders, falls out of the top three, you're going to see a team take him at some point. Whether it's the Steelers, we talked about the Saints, the Raiders could. I know some people talk about the Jets. I don't know if the Jets are. I think Jets are taking best player available. I think the Raiders are going to take best player available. I think they're going to end up with Genti. They need a running back. And, they extended Geno Smith. Now, had they not have traded for Geno Smith and extended him, then I probably would have said, yeah, that could be it. I mean, it still could, but I think they're looking for best player available, and I think Genti is that. Also in the chat, General says, he says, can Aints even do A-Rod? I mean, it's tough because, Kellen Moore is going to be coaching for the very first time as a head coach. And now you bring in Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know how that relationship would work. I think I mean they'd be able to coexist. I mean, he was able to do it with LaFleur. Now, I mean, with the Saints, the defense is getting older, but I mean, I don't think the offense is bad. They brought back Brandon Cooks. Hopefully, Chris Olave could stay healthy. You got Rashid Shaheed, who was very good at the start of last year before he got hurt. You still have Alvin Kamara. They still got playmakers on that side of the ball, and like I said, the defense is getting older. But yeah, you still got to give the respect to some of these guys. Cameron Jordan, mainly. So and it's not a tough division. The Saints won 9 games in 2023, and they got off to a good start. It's just then, guys got hurt. So I feel like that could work. That might not be a bad spot for him if he did end up there. It's just we'd have to see how that relationship with Kellen Moore and him would play out. But yeah, that's the football talk there. So the Giants, look, I don't expect them to take a quarterback with their first round pick. I expect them to take a quarterback later. They're taking best player available. And if they don't, I'm not going to be too thrilled about it, but you know what? Hey, they need franchise quarterback at some point because Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, that's not the long-term answer. I mean, they might end up being with the Giants for 1 year. But also Joe Shane and Brian Dable could be out after this year, so we'll see. One more comment from Jen Will before we go to break. Would you splash on Jalen Ramsey if you were the Giants? So yes, Jalen Ramsey has been given permission. Well, actually, I don't know if he's been given permission, but either way, Dolphins are going to be looking to trade him this offseason. I mean, I don't know how much you'd have to give up. He's an older player now. I feel like the Giants might be okay in the secondary. They signed Adenabo from the Saints. And you got some of the other young players, Drew Phillips and Deontay Banks. I think they might be good. But you know what? I mean, I would take him if he's cheap. But I think also the contract might be an issue too. But yeah, let me know what you guys think though about the Giants. What do you think they're going to do with their first round pick? Let me know in the comments. So when we come back from our next break, we will talk about Nick Chubb and where he could potentially sign. He's still on the free agent market, so we will get into that when we come back. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.